Hi and welcome to this webinar introducing you to the DynaVox T10 and Compass app. My name's Charlene Cullen and I'm an inclusive technology consultant with the Spectronics team. My background's in speech pathology, so I'm very passionate about AAC and the opportunity to give you an overview of the T10 and the Compass app in this webinar. If you haven't already, I'd like to encourage you to check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and also our Spectronics blog. There's some great information there. You'll find out new things through those social media channels, and also they're a great place to contact us also for questions, and we'd love to find out what you're thinking and answer those questions. We also have the Spectronics online subscription, so there are a whole range of other videos that you can access through that subscription on a range of different topics. So check them out. You can get a free online subscription for 7 days to see what's there, and then if you like what you see, you might want to consider a subscription for a year. With the DynaVox T10, you can see that on the left-hand side of the slide. You have the Compass app that is on that T10 tablet. You can also have the Compass app on an iPad with the subscription, and you can also access the Compass app on what's called the Compass editor on your own laptop. Now, these three things are a part of the DynaVox ecosystem, different ways that you can access Compass, and all of those different options for Compass can feed into MyDynavox, which is an account that you create and allows you to manage your pages, share them with other people, store them in the cloud, and also is a place that you can learn more about the Compass app, the different platforms that you can have it on, and also ways that you might implement that app with the people that you're working with. So here's an example of Hannah and different ways that she's using the Compass app on different platforms with the people that work with her. So in the top left-hand corner, we have Hannah's school speech pathologist is creating some pages for her to use on her T10 device when she goes to the aquarium this week. And so Hannah's speechy is creating those pages, and she's doing that remotely. She doesn't have Hannah's tablet or Hannah's iPad mini, but she is using the Compass editing software on her computer, making those pages. So that Compass app looks exactly the same on the editor. And then she's sharing those pages to Hannah's family's MyDynavox account, so they can access them and put them on the iPad that she has. They can also put them on the T10, and that's what's happened in the top right-hand corner. The school have put those pages onto the T10 device through the MyDynavox account. So anything on MyDynavox account is in the cloud and accessible by those people that work with Hannah. And so Hannah's using the device at the aquarium to ask her teacher questions and talk with her classmates. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have an example of Hannah's private speech pathologist using her Compass editor to make some additional pages for Hannah to use at home. And Hannah's parents are going to load them onto the device. So the speech pathologist would be sharing those pages to Hannah's MyDynavox account so that they can go onto her T10. And also you can see in the bottom left-hand corner that Hannah has the companion app. Because she has a T10, she also can have the app on her iPad mini. So family can model using the communication pages with Hannah as she's learning language. And her siblings can do that also. So they can all talk to each other using the T10 and the companion app on the iPad mini. So that's just an example of some different ways that a student might use the Compass app and MyDynavox in an example of the aquarium. Okay, so I've been talking a little bit about MyDynavox. Well, what is that? You can go to the website, MyDynavox.com, and this is where you can sign up or log in if you've already created an account. And it's very easy to do so. I recommend that to anybody who's interested, because you don't even necessarily have to have the start using the Compass app straight away. You can actually access a lot of information there that's useful without even using the app. Ways to implement alternative augmentative communication with people. There's therapy ideas there. There's also the option to download the Compass editor. So it's a good place to start, to head on over to MyDynavox.com, sign up and see what's there already. Some of the things that you can access through that account are being able to register your software, the Compass app, and you will need to do that at some point on your device, whether it's on the T10 or on your iPad, because any time that you want to back up those pages to the cloud to keep them there for safe storage or to share with other people, therapists, you do need to have registered and sign in with that account to do that. If you want to download the editing software, the Compass editing software, you can do that from that MyDynavox website. There's also the implementation resources that I've mentioned, some lesson plans and therapy activities, along with a lot of video support. So if you're like me and you need to learn things visually, then the video supports are really helpful and show you some different tips on how to use the page sets that come with it, and how to do some of the actions like editing pages and things like that. The other exciting thing is what I've been using a lot is the community support forum, and that's where you can go in and ask questions and receive answers from either the DynaVox team or others who are working through the same questions that you might be. So it's a good place to search for information as well. Now, the first thing that I want to show you is when you receive your DynaVox T10, which is a tablet based on the Android operating system, or if you are using the Compass app on an iPad or even a Windows tablet, you can start getting started and find the right page set by using the setup wizard, because some of you might not be sure of what page set to use with the individual you're working with. So you can go through a set of guiding questions that will help determine perhaps the best page set for you to start off with. You do also have an option to actually go straight to a page set if you're already aware of the one that you want to use, or perhaps you've purchased a premium page set that you're wanting to use with an individual. But let's head on over and have a look at that setup wizard and how that works. So when you open up your T10 and take it out of the box, charge it up and then turn it on and open up the Compass app, this is the page you will most likely start with, and so it guides you through the setup wizard to help you find a page set that might best suit the individual. You can, of course, as I said, select a page set, which is underneath that big green tab there. So you can go straight to a page set that you already know you want to use, or if you've already been working perhaps on the Compass editor and created some pages already, you could restore a page set from your MyDynavox account. So those are the options that you have when you start up. I'm just going to show you how you might go through the page set wizard. So here you have three things that you would answer. You can use age, so if you know that you're working with a young child, or you might be working with an adult, a teenager, so select that age group, and what happens is the page sets start to change as to what's recommended according to that age group. Certain page sets work well with different age groups. You might find that some of the page sets have more keyboard options and writing messages using the keyboard, so for a more literate user, and that's usually going to be for older an older age group or from primary school and up. Anyway, we'll look at choosing a teenager. You also will have gender, male, female, and then you have a condition that you can select from. So you have autism, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, apraxia, aphasia or stroke, traumatic brain injury, or apraxia again. So not the childhood version. Anyway, those are options you can choose from. So if I change to something like traumatic brain injury, what we should see is some different recommended page sets coming up. So we've also got, actually might choose an adult. And so now you can see that that's changed to a stroke and brain injury page set being recommended down in the bottom left there. So different things will come up. And you've also got an access option to choose from, the touchscreen or standard mouse. So on the T10 you can use mouse control, whereas on the iPad that's not available. We might talk about that a little bit later. So access is there as well. If we took that away, it's going to assume that we might use some other access methods and then select according to that. So we might say intellectual disability and a young child, and we start to see that there's different recommendations coming down underneath. What we can do is once those page sets are being recommended is we can compare them, tapping on the blue button, and get some more detailed information about those page sets. Now I'm going to be going through each of the page sets, so we won't look at that right now, but just to give you an idea of how that wizard works. And so we can go back and view some more page sets that are available. So you can see we've got word power, text-based, Navbar, master page, Navigator, and all access. And so once we are happy with the page set that we might want to explore, and of course we can always go back, is we select it, just use tapping on the icon. So now we've selected the Navbar. It gives us some more detailed information about the different pages that are available, and we can then select this page set. And we're sure, yes. And so what's going to happen is it's going to start loading that from MyDynavox because we've selected it. So we'll just wait for that to load, and then I'm going to tell you a bit more about that page set. Now, downloading your page sets can take a little while when you're downloading them from MyDynavox in the cloud, and that will depend on the size of the page set. But you could also be just getting the page set straight from your T10 device, and that will take less time because it's right from the device itself and not going through the cloud and the internet, etc., etc. So just be aware of that. Now that we've downloaded the Navbar page set to our device, we now have the levels questionnaire that we need to go through. And there's just, as you can see across the top, about 6 things that we need to consider if we want to. Or down the bottom in the left-hand corner, we can just say, no thanks, I want to skip straight to the page set and I'll customize it from there. The questions that they ask you are really relating to the developmental and language level, ability, comprehension, expression, vocabulary, things that the individual knows, and that will help determine what the page set content is like. So whether it's for a more emergent communicator or someone who is quite independent and using keyboards and quite literate, etc. So we'll quickly go through that, but you can skip it and then go and change your levels within the page set settings anyway. So start the levels questionnaire, and this one is looking at their individual's use of symbols. So we could go from very early not understanding symbols all that much right through to combining symbols and single words and spelling to communicate. So I'm just going to go for the top level and choose next. Now we've got also their use, statements that describe their need for help to communicate. So support there. So we'll go to the top where they are still combining words, and the early level is more about communication partners supporting that and guessing what their communication is about. We've then got what best describes their desire. So no obvious desire right through to active participation. And then we've got their ability to understand conversations. So early level, a lot of these relate to, early development and babies and how they start communicating, right through to when we're understanding entire conversations with our peers. So next. And then we've got something around literacy skills. So again, I'm just going to go with the top level. But as people work through this, they could consider where their individual is at for that. And then our last option is looking at page organisation. So this is whether we would want to use a visual scene, which can be really supportive for some particular individuals, looking at hotspots around a picture that really is quite meaningful to them. Or we might go with a grid-based layout, which is a more traditional layout for most. So I'm actually going to use the visual scene in this case for the Navbar page set because I am thinking of an individual who has autism. I think we picked a teenage age, and visual scenes can be really helpful with individuals with autism. Again, it's something that you're going to need to assess and try out because we can't really box people into the same pigeonhole. Different people may benefit from that. So let's give it a go. Next. And it's going to start showing us what that layout will look like. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's a topic page and it's got a visual scene there. And then we've also got some core word pages and word lists. We can go across the top tabs and confirm our layout. There's also a little tour video that you can watch that gives you a little bit of information about that particular page set. That can be helpful. And then we can also go in and select topics. And most page sets ask you to select topics. Topics really are just about general themes or schedules and things that people like to talk about. So there are around about 60 odd topics that are pre-programmed that you can select from. And you can also program up to around 20 of your own. So we will select some topics. And the way that we would do that is just tap on the topic and choose to select show. Because I'm just going to select a few from the top here just to add them in. Birthday. And we can scroll through. We've got other things like bubbles. So there's different topics that relate to different age groups. And the car. Okay, so that will do for now for our topics. And then we'll go back and choose done. So now that's set up our pages according to those different levels of communication, as well as the topics that we've chosen and the layout that we've chosen. So now we can choose to start communicating. And our page set comes up. This is the Navbar page set. So on the left-hand side, we have like a title or a topic bar on the far left. And then we have all of our topics, scrolling sort of a list there. So I can tap on one of those, which is art class. And we can see we've got some vocabulary down the bottom, and then we've got some hot spots on a visual scene that we can select. So I can tap on tools, and then down the bottom my vocabulary changes. And so this is quite phrase-based, the things that I can talk about.
That's Nina.
I think my language is in German. So what I'll do now is just show you how we can go in and change some of the settings. I'm going to go into the little cog in the top left-hand corner. I'm not going to go into all of these things. We'll touch on these as we go, but we do want to have a look at our voices. And here you can see that Hans is selected. So that's why it sounded a little odd just then when I played the message. So I can tap on that drop down, and I have a few other voices I have downloaded. We've got Australian voices, Nicole and Russell. We have some children's voices. I think Ivy is a children's voice. We can download and manage. So there are a great deal of other Ivona voices that we can download for some other languages. So they're accents. So let's just choose Nicole for now. And there we can also change things like the rate and the volume. And so I'm going to choose done and go back out of there. So now if we choose to speak a message.
Yours is really awesome.
We've now got an Australian voice. Nicole, that's great. Okay, so here in the Navbar page set, you can see I've got some different topics, and each topic has a visual scene and some vocabulary associated with that topic. Now at the top, we've got three little cells that I can select, and this really relates to the Navbar page set. As one of the particular features I would highlight is the supports. So we can go into the supports for that particular topic on art, and now we have a whole lot of behaviour supports that we can access. So we could use a visual timer with the individual and set that. Let's go with 20 seconds. Set. And we could start that and away we go. So the visual timer can be a useful tool. We also have some contingencies and schedules as well as related to that topic. So I can go into art project, and we've got a little schedule here for in class about what we do as we wait to do our art class. For some individuals, that might be a useful thing to be able to access and use those. It's particularly useful for individuals with autism. But those different supports can be used across different page sets. So it's not specific to this one, but it is built into this one where you can access it quite easily. Along the left-hand title bar, we've also got quick fires that I can access. So that's just a whole page of quick language that you might use. We've also got quick phrases. Okay, and so across the top we've got some tabs for greetings, feelings, questions, etc. We've got some core words, so that if we're building and speaking into a message window, we can construct some language with individuals. There's also a keyboard for typing messages. And last of all, we've got a whiteboard. So there's an option there to do some, scribbling. I'm going to erase that, etc. You can also add in images. So that could be a handy tool, perhaps when you're sort of assessing some language levels and seeing if individuals writing. There can be lots of uses for using a bit of a scribble board with an individual. So now we'll go back to the topics. This is the main way that the nav bar is set up. It's called Navbar because you've got that navigation bar for your topics and your main communication page on the right with the visual scenes, or you could just have it as a grid-based layout. So I think I've mentioned most of the things I wanted to tell you about the Navbar. I have been seeing that used by a few individuals already, and individuals that are using that quite well. So we've just looked at the Navbar page set, and I've just got a quick page that gives an overview of some of the features of that page set, as well as who that might be recommended for from children through to adults. So one of the key things is that that particular page set is organised around that scrolling navbar, so anyone who could benefit from that, as well as the different communication tools that are available that I mentioned, the core words, keyboards, and those pre-stored messages, and according to that visual scene or grid layout, and also those behaviour supports. And then one of the main things is the access method. So if you do have someone who needs to use a keyguard or scanning as alternative access, then the Navbar page set isn't great. It's not really set up for that. So it's really for someone who has that direct access and can use their finger or a stylus. So this is an overview of the page sets that are currently available with the T10 or the Compass app on an iPad or Windows tablet. There were 5 page sets that initially came out with the release, but they've added a couple of extras now. So we have the Navbar, which I've just shown you. There's also the master page, which I'm about to demonstrate. We've got word power, text-based, stroke and brain injury persona, and then the 2 new ones are all access and Navigator, and they've come out with the Compass 2.0 release. With each of the page sets, you get a combination of these communication tools. So we've already seen when we looked at the Navbar that we had topics, we had access to quick fires and quick phrases, we had access to the core vocabulary and word lists, we also had access to the keyboard, positive behaviour supports and the whiteboard. Some of those other tools we'll see in some other page sets, but you certainly see combinations of them and just different ways that you might access those different tools to support conversations. So this is the master page set. I've downloaded this from MyDynavox. You can have different grid layouts. So at the moment we have a 6x6 layout. You can go down to 3x3 and up to 7x7. That's something that you can play around with once you've loaded the page set or as you're doing the setup wizard. So I've selected the 6x6 and you can see that on each of the cells there is a topic. So as you tap on a topic like cooking, it then goes into a tabbed page set, still using that 6x6 grid layout. So the topic is cooking, and we can see a little, I guess, a reminder of that at the top next to the home button. And then we've got the tabs for general conversation. Again, this is phrase-based. And then we've got recipes, ingredients, and kitchen talk, as well as those supports. You can see actually on the right-hand side, a lot of those toolbar options that we saw in the Navbar are now there, but they're on the button and they're not in a scrolling. They're not on a toolbar and they're not in a scrolling Navbar either. So everything's a little bit different in the way that it's presented, but you've still got the same sorts of options. The master page page set is very similar to Interact if you use that in some of the legacy DynaVox devices, previous devices, like the VMAX or the Maestro. So it's quite similar to that. So we'll just do a little bit of navigating and have a look at what might happen as we touch different, we go into the recipes tab. We've got conversation around and related to that. Ingredients. If I wanted to add a button, I might just show you that here. We can do some editing. So in the top right hand corner, we tap on the 3 little strips there, and then we've got the option to modify or go into the settings. So we'll modify, and then you can see we've got a reminder down the bottom that we're in modify mode and we need to select an object that we want to modify. So I might add to a blank button, and then we get a little pop-up. So we can edit on the page as we go, or we can go into a page editing mode. So this is just quick editing. So I'm going to choose to add a label, eggs, and then I can select a symbol. Select, and the action, the very last option there is speak the message. So we'll leave it as is. It's pretty much set to that as a default, but there's obviously a number of other things that we could assign as actions, things like clear the message or delete a word, some of those other actions that you might be familiar with in programming. So now we're ready to check that little tick in the top right hand corner to say we're done. And now I have a button that will say eggs. If I tap on that.
Eggs.
Okay. All right. So that's a very quick overview of the master page set. Of course, you can look at these page sets. There is a 30-day trial of the Compass app that you can download onto your iPad. You could that's a free trial, or you could you get that from the iTunes store, or you could also look at the Compass editing software on your computer. It won't speak, but you certainly can explore the pages and see what's on them. Let's now escape and we'll have a look at an overview of what the master page is about and who that's for. So as I said, the master page is similar to previous DynaVox devices. You can actually access a visual scene layout if you want to, but I was showing you the grid option. There's still all of those tools available, such as core vocab, word lists, keyboards, and behaviour supports. But it's all organised around one main master page, and then everything comes away from that. And then the language that's available is according to age range. So if you go into different page sets and you selected it for a young child versus an adult, you'll see different vocabulary assigned. So a young child might say at bedtime, on the topic for bedtime, can I have a drink of water again, or read me another story? Whereas for an adult, it will say something like, did we take the rubbish out, or we should have turned off the lights, or something along those lines, things that we say differently at different age groups. So the master page set is great for anyone who likes that grid type layout around a master page, and you can actually use this with a keyguard. There are keyguards available. Also alternative access such as scanning, so you can set that up in the settings. Now I've just pulled up the word power options. When you download the word power page set, you have these 9 different options that you can select from. So word power was created by Nancy Inman, and what it is it's page sets that combine features of core word vocabulary, spelling, and word prediction. And so there are various options to accommodate some different ability levels, and you could probably also tell just by looking at this snapshot of some different page sets within the word power page set that core words are categorized, and you can see some color coding, and it's also in alphabetical order. So there's some different, it's a different arrangement again of categories and core words and things like that. It does allow for generative vocabulary, so people can create sentences. And we've got a very simple layout, 20 grid, right up to 150. So you must take into account that a word power 150 will look quite small and have quite small targets on the screen on a tablet device, whether that's on the T10 or on your iPad or Windows tablet. So you will need to take that into consideration. Let's have a look at one of them. We might just go into the picture word power. So we're using some symbol support there, whereas you can see that the later ones have less symbols and more text. So we tap on that and it will take us into word power 60, picture word power. So you can see the arrangement. We've got some core words on the left. You can start to say things like I want, and go into
to eat,
lunch.
So
I want to eat lunch. That's coming up soon. Again, in the top right hand corner is where we can go in and either edit buttons or go into settings to access things like voices and rate and access method, etc. So I won't again go into too much detail here with the word power options, but it's certainly a good one to explore for some individuals and see if that might suit them for their language needs. So again, a summary of the word power page set. You can see some of the features of it, and then it is recommended for children through to adults who might have a wide range of abilities. You can actually work through some of those word power options with them and build on their language as they go. Someone who would benefit from core vocab and or spelling with word prediction. And then you've also got an option. You can use a keyguard with this layout on the T10. There are keyguards available, and there are some scanning options with these page sets as well. So now I'm on the stroke and brain injury persona page set, available in the Compass app. So this one is specifically for individuals with stroke or brain injury. and based on, they've developed it based on current research. So what it has available within it is a range of communication tools that are provided for total communication support. So one of the things that jumps out at me with this particular page set when you select it is that it does have in the toolbar on the left-hand side the rating scale. So when I tap on that, we've got the option for an individual that may be in hospital or still receiving some outpatient care, and it can be really useful for them to be able to express a level of rating something, or even along a pain scale of how they're feeling with particular body parts as well. So the rating scale is built into that. What I would point out here is often when we're working with individuals, we might have a whole bunch of tools that we carry around with us, and paper and pens and visual supports and rating scales and things like that. And what's now become a good option is to have all these built into the Compass app and other apps we might come across, and really help us to store them all in one place and not have to carry so many things around with us, although some of us still like to have those as backups. So we have the rating scale, we have our topics, the whiteboard you've seen. We'll go back to topics. This one's fairly basic. I've got this at a really early level, a level 1, and I'm going to show you how you change the levels. So you could do this within any page set. What we would do is we would go into settings, in the top left-hand corner, and you can see down the bottom there's the levels option. So when we go into that, we can actually see a little description of each level as we move up and what's added. So you'll see down the bottom the different tools that change. So if I move to level 2, we don't get any new tools, but the topics now scroll, so we can add more topics, and we also will see more information available. In level 3, you can now see down the bottom that in the toolbar I've got quick fires. So now the person has a very speedy way to gain attention or ask and answer a question or make a comment. And then hotspots are actually starting to be added into the visual scenes now, whereas at level 1 there were no hotspots. It made it really simplified. So we can move on through to level 4, and we've got the keyboard and word lists have been added. And then level 5, there's just some more complexity added to what we can see. I think you've got images available in the whiteboard and things like that. So you can watch the videos about that. There's a video at each level to describe what's available in that. So I like that that's built in, that you can change the levels within a page set as you go along, as an individual starts to improve in the way that they're using their language and the tools that are available. So when we pick done and we go and see the tools now, we see the page set now, you can see the hotspots there, and as we tap on the cat, we've got vocabulary down the bottom specific to the cat. And of course we can change that. You might want to customize that to say different things. And this individual with stroke or brain injury could also use the keyboard. When we tap on that, we've got some word prediction. So you'll notice that within the topics there aren't a lot of things that they can select in terms of the vocabulary. Just go back. There's 4 things there. You could change that layout if you wanted to, but I suspect at that level an individual with stroke or brain injury might be using a combination of tools. So they might use topics, they might use some quick fires. So you can see there, you can add some. They might be using the keyboard because they have some spelling intact as well. So there's always options to change what's available to them and give them more flexibility. So that's the stroke and brain injury page set. Let's go along now and have a look at an overview of that and who it's for. So the stroke and brain injury persona, as I said, specifically more for individuals with stroke or brain injury. I think it also looks a lot like the Navbar page set that was for individuals with autism. So it has that scrolling topics bar. So it's useful for individuals that might use a variety of communication tools. I didn't mention the scripts, but there are some built-in scripting tools, so that person can practice scripts around a particular topic and helping them to work through conversation. So if they're going to the doctors and they wanted to make sure that they covered certain things, they could work with a communication partner or other supports to develop that script and then be able to practice that as they before they go to the doctors and use it when they go to the doctors. So the scripts are really helpful as well. This is for adults who are going to access the device using their fingers or a stylus. So this one doesn't allow for a key guard or for scanning. Now I've loaded the text-based page set. So this one is, as you can see, solely based on text. There are no symbols. So it has a flexible and customizable layout with topical messages. So if I tap on the menu button on the left-hand side, here are all my topics. And again, I can select those or deselect some of those depending on what's appropriate for the individual. If I tap on next, we've got access to more topic messages that we can add. I can also access the keyboard on the left there, and this has word prediction, so I can start to type messages, as you can see, and the word prediction's happening. Also have an editor, so that I can go in and edit that message window, check the spelling, save that message, and navigate around where my cursor is, and copy and paste that information elsewhere within the Compass app. I do have quick phrases, so there's a whole lot of pre-stored quick phrases around different topics, greetings, feelings, etc. And again, quick fires, but everything is in text format. So obviously the individual needs to have pretty good level of reading skills to use this page set. There's lots of pre-stored vocabulary, but you can also customize and add your own. And with this one, the access is for, you can use a keyguard with this one. You can also use direct touch. For some individuals, you might want to use a head mouse so that they're, depending on what physically is they are able to do, then that's going to determine your access method. So you can use mouse or scanning as well. And this side is just summarizing what I've been saying or trying to say. And so here we have, it's recommended for adults with good reading skills and can benefit from that pre-stored text vocabulary. And there's a wide variety of options for selections with this one, so different access methods. Now the page set that I'm showing you now is called the All Access page set. This is one of the newer page sets that came with the introduction of Compass 2.0, which is a later version, the most recent at this point. And so this All Access page set has basically a different layout to some of the others. So what you will see on the left-hand side, we've seen this in some of the other page sets, is the toolbar. And then in the middle section, we have the page area, and that relates to whichever tool on the toolbar you have selected. So if I select quick fires, then we will see all the quick fire messages show up in that page area. If I choose core, then I will see core messages in that page area. And then the far right hand side, you can see a grey strip, and that's called the page bar. So that actually relates to sort of navigating your way around that page area. So if we're in topics, we'll actually see when I select a topic, go into meals, and this is just because I'm on the, I'm using my iPad for this particular page set. Sometimes there's a little slight delay in just moving to the next page. So now you can see that the page bar actually has some numbers, and I can actually navigate to other vocabulary by choosing the 1 or the 2, and I can also go into the supports for that page. And those behaviour supports we've discussed in the past. So we've actually still got the visual timer. It's just represented in a different way in the page area. And I haven't talked about these, but there are actually video modelling examples, some that are already created and built in, but you can create your own. So because we were on a cooking topic, we've got some video models on making grilled cheese sandwich or making a peanut butter and jelly or jam sandwich. So this is the all access page set, and the reason it's called that is because it's been created to work with a number of access methods. You can use scanning. So if we wanted to do that, we would go into our settings and we would choose access method. And here you can see some of the access methods that are available. These aren't available on all platforms. So on the T10, the DynaVox T10, you can, of course, do your different touch settings, touch enter, touch exit. You can do scanning. You can also do mouse, head mouse control or plug in a mouse, because you will have the USB port to do that. But you can't do mouse control on the iPad if you've got that as a platform that you're using with the Compass app. So it's good to be mindful of that. Sometimes your access method might be a very big thing that you're considering in terms of choosing which device you might use. So access method is selected here, and there's a whole range of settings you can change there. And we'll go back out. There's a few extra features added into this all access page set as well that I'm still learning a little bit about, but I have noted that in the top right hand corner, once we've created our message, we can actually do things like undo what we've written. There's a chat option, which means we can turn chat off or on. And what that means is as I'm constructing a message in my message window, is it ready yet? If someone comes along to me whilst I'm in the classroom and I've been constructing my message, they come along and they say, hey, have you been to see that new movie yet? What did you think? I could turn chat off and start constructing my response to them. So what happens is when I turn chat back on, probably should have done the other way around, my message that I've been putting together for my classroom activity is still there. So basically it gives me two message windows to play around with. The other thing I've noted is this send button, which means that the message I constructed, I can send to quick phrases to store there, or I can go into apps and it'll actually allow me for some of these functions I can use, but some might not work on all of the platforms. But I could go and create an email with that message. The other thing with this all access page set is there's a new tool that's been added. You can see that on the far left bottom corner is the dashboard. And when I go into this, I can actually access a whole range of those tools in a different way. So these I don't have to go into my settings to find. I can go into backing up and into things like my access settings directly. But there's a few other things added in here. I can turn up my volume on my device and volume down, which is good for some individuals who might want that access, and that's built in. So if I was a scanner, I could then turn my volume up because I can't access the physical volume up and down buttons. There's also something new that we haven't seen in the page sets, which is games. So these are for practicing some of your access methods. So if you were practicing head control with mouse, you could use some of these, or even just direct access and working on smaller targets and things like that. So there's the games and a few other options. Now, what shows on your toolbar and what's available to you in this dashboard will change according to the communication ability level that you've selected. So I've selected level 5, which is quite high, so I have more of these options available to me. The other thing that I can alter, if I go into my levels, is if I'm configuring my level 5, down the bottom there's an option for general, and a little pop-up comes up, and this is where I can change my grid layout, so how much is showing on the screen in terms of vocabulary. And we have an option of going right up to 7 by 8 and right down to 1 by 2 cells. So there's quite a lot of flexibility there that you can see in terms of what grid arrangement you have, as well as whether you've got swiping enabled and a few other bits and pieces. So it's worth exploring all of these different buttons to see what you've got available in your settings. So this is the last of the page sets that actually comes with your Compass app, whether that's on the T10 or if you've got it on your iPad or Windows tablet. It's called the Navigator page set, and it's been optimized for different access methods, and particularly for people with disabilities such as motor neuron disease. So it's for literate users, people who might be using the keyboard and spelling their messages, and it's got phrasal storage options and things like that. So similarly to the all access method, we have that tool called the dashboard. So we've got quick and easy access to some controls and settings. We have the keyboard, which I was just showing you with word prediction. And you can also see some phrase prediction happening. So there's some rate enhancement features that have been added in here for people so that they're not having to type out every single letter, but they can use word or phrase prediction to make things faster. And then something I haven't showed before, but this is available across most of the page sets, is something called photo albums. So there's an example one in here called the birthday boat ride, but you can create additional ones and basically share information with people, stories and things about your past or what's happening in your life using photos. So that can be a great way to tell other people about yourself as well. So this is the Navigator page set. Again, as you increase your levels of communication ability in the settings, you'll find more of the tools are available in that toolbar on the left-hand side, allowing the person more flexibility with things that they can access and use. So there's always options for changing that once you've selected the page set. And that's the Navigator page set. We're now going to move on to some of the premium page sets. So we'll start with the pod page sets. Now we're looking at the premium page sets. These are page sets that you pay an additional one-off cost for. And so this is the Pod Australian version. There's also a US version. And with these page sets, you have 6 options available. So we have the 15 and 15 plus for preschool. So a lot of vocabulary centered around preschool. And then we have the 15 and 15 plus for school. Again, vocabulary is targeted towards the school age population. So you'll find things around curriculum topics and like science and maths and things like that. And then we have the 60 expanded keyword and 60 complex for more literate users and individuals that are putting sentences together in a more complex fashion. So what you'll find is that the 15 and 15 plus are suited towards the individuals who might have a low-tech pod communication book. It parallels to the low-tech versions of the 12, 16 and the 20 page books. And then the Pod 60 that we're going to have a look at shortly, the Pod 60 complex is similar to a 90 or 100 cell communication book, and the Pod 60 expanded keyword would be similar to using a 40 or a 70 cell pod communication book. So you can kind of see that they cover the continuum of those individuals who might already be using a low-tech communication book using the direct access templates that you can create those with. So we're going to have a little look. We might just start with the 15 plus school. So as I tap, this is sort of a landing page. When you download your pod page set that you purchased, you have access to all of these, and then it will tap to go into and unpack that 15 plus school Australian page set. So we'll just let that load and have a look. So here's our 15 plus school page set, and similarly to the all access and Navigator page sets that I just showed you, we have the chat mode option on and off. So again, we have two message windows essentially. So I could be constructing a message in the classroom to say respond to the teacher about something, and then if my peer next door to me asks me something, I could go into chat mode and start talking to them, and it'd be a different message constructed. So that's a nice feature of the pod page sets. If we go into chat words, we'll see similar vocabulary that you would have on your low-tech communication book. And then what you'll find is, because this is on a dynamic display and we're going in and out of different pages, some of the branches or folders that I tap on might put the message up into the message window, but others won't. And so they're more of an alert and giving a social cue to someone else that I'm about to say something, and letting them know what it might be about. So for instance, I do get things going up in the message window if I say I want something to eat or drink. Now, and then I could say, go into food and choose what I always like to eat, which is chocolate.
I want to eat or drink chocolate.
That just went a little bit funny in terms of the audio, but that's because of the way I'm projecting this message through the video. I'll try that again.
I want something to eat or drink chocolate.
Yeah, a little bit better. All right. So you can see how some messages are going up and some aren't. Or I could clear that, go back to my main page. And in this case, I'm telling you something.
I have something to tell you.
That's not going up into the message window. It's just letting my peers know I'm about to say something. Listen up. And then I can say, it's already happened.
It's already happened.
Go into people's pronouns. It comes back to my page automatically. I don't have to navigate back. I went. And I'm going to go to categories, activities. Something that was outside. I went swimming.
I went swimming.
So that's something that I did today. So that's your 15 plus. If I want to show you the 60, I can get back to that starting page in my settings, my page browser. It's not something you necessarily need to remember, but we'll just go back to our main page. And now I'm just going to show you the 60, what that would look like. So we'll go into 60 complex, which is the far end of the scale, and just wait for that to open up. Okay, now we're on the 60 complex. You can see again, it's following a similar format. We've got the clear button down in the bottom right hand corner, so some things are staying the same as you move through. And we've also got some categories on the right hand side, all those folders, and then on the left some sentence starters and some of the pragmatic starters, and then some core words. So the difference with this is obviously we can say a lot more. As I tap on I, it gives me all the different ways that I might combine I. So I'm, and then I'm going to tap on go, which will also give me all my different options for go. I'm going to, I'm also sort of moving left to right with our sentence construction. So I'm going to, let's find a place. Oops, I forgot a little word. I'm going to the places. I'm going to the pool. So I'm going to do some more swimming. Okay. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. You can see how the pod page sets are displayed, what's involved in them, and they're certainly worth exploring. We will have that available on our trial devices, and you can also find out more information about them through MyDynavox website. So just to summarise, the pod page set is a premium page set that you pay an additional cost for, a one-off cost. There are 6 page sets within that that you have access to, and it's recommended for children through to adults who might benefit from a page set that is for functional genuine communication that expands and develops, so you can work through a progression with it to assist individuals with developing their communication. And that they would benefit from strategies using things like pragmatic functions and pragmatic branching, and also expanding their vocabulary and using colour coding. The pod page sets were created and developed by Gail Porter. So these ones are dynamic pages that are available on the Compass app. They're predominantly for people who are going to use direct access using their finger or stylus. There are some key guards available for this also. So next page set we're going to have a look at is the Gateway page set, and that's the final premium page set before we look at a few other settings and look a little bit more deeply into the MyDynavox option. This is the Gateway to Language and Learning page set by Joan Bruno. As we're also on a landing page here, there are 12 different page sets that you can access, and they all move through a continuum for basically a developmentally based series of page sets. And there's consistency of design throughout the levels, which is what we will find across a number of the page sets that we see, as well as features such as core word and activity and message-based pages. So we're going to have a little look, and I'll just show you a bit of a comparison. What you'll find in the early learning language page sets is that because individuals are learning language, that the morphology and things like that are left so that the individual can select the morphology they need to create their sentences. Whereas when you're looking at the linguistically competent pages, a lot of that is assumed that the individual knows that, so there's some automatic changes that occur to the morphology of words. So let's see what I mean by that. We're just going to go into child 40. Oh, and if you do want to find out a lot more about Gateway, these pages have been tweaked a bit, and there's some additional activity page sets since versions for DynaVox Series 5 pages. So these have been tweaked for the Compass software. So you can find out more if you hit that big yellow button that says Introduction to Gateway. It will take you to a web page that talks a lot more about each page set and how they're all put together. So child 40, let's have a look. So if I wanted to say, put together a sentence about having a really good time at the moment, I would say I. And then I want to say am. So I go down to is, was, and I've got those to choose from. So as a language learner, I'd be thinking about that, and people would be telling me and modelling to me what to select. And then I'm going to say having, so I choose have, but I would need to say that it needs ing on the end. So I am having the, and then I want a describing word. So I'm going to go into that folder, more describing, the best, and now I want to write the word time. So describing and there's time down in the bottom right-hand corner.
Time.
So that's how I would construct that sentence, and that's in a language learning page set. So there's a lot more modelling that would be happening by communication partners, and I would be learning what morphology to use and how to construct my sentences. However, if I go back to the main starting page and go into a 60 text, here you'll see the changes are going to happen automatically. So once I select I, the verbs change automatically. So I'll clear that whole sentence, and I'll show you again. If you watch the word verb is, as I type the word it changes automatically to am. So there's not any selection that I need to make amongst a variety of words. I am, and then having changes automatically as well. I don't have to choose ing. I'm having the. Go into describing words, and everything is arranged alphabetically. The best, and go into time to find time words.
Time.
So there's a little less, a few less hits there as well. So this is the gateway page sets. They also have some color coding. There's a mixture of core words and category pages, and also some pages around activities too. So yeah, read up more on that if you're interested. I'm just going to go in and have a look at that summary page. So as I said, Gateway is developmentally based. There are 12 page sets. There's consistency of design. You've got access to core word and activity message-based pages. It's good for someone who falls into a wide range of abilities, and you can use KeyGuard, and you can use alternative access scanning. It's got that grid layout. So that's Gateway. Now I want to talk to you a little bit more about your MyDynavox account. This is really important to create one. It's equally important to remember the email address and the password that you use to create this MyDynavox account. So store that somewhere, because you will need that every time you log in. Also to log in and out of different devices that you might use, and also if you need to use that email address to tell someone so that they can share pages with you, they will share them using that email address. So I've logged into my DynaVox account, and I want to just show you, we're on the dashboard at the moment, and that will tell you a bit about which devices you've got attached to the Compass app. If you've got a T10 attached, that will show up there. It'll also show you whether your iPad's attached. But the main thing I want to just direct your attention to are those tabs across the top there, or the main headings. So we're on the home dashboard page at the moment, and this shows when there are updates available. So it's letting me know that Compass 2.0 is available, and I can look at the notes that tell me what is included in that update. And so you can go into your different devices and update them. I've done that on some of them, but not all of them yet. And then you can also see your accounts that are registered. And if I scroll right down to the bottom, there's the option there to get the editor, which is a Windows-only page editor for Compass. And you can also browse some other resources and things. So let's scroll back up to the top and have a look at page sets. This is where I'll see any of the page sets, the standard page sets, as well as any premium ones that I might have purchased. So I've got, I can see word power and stroke and brain injury, etc. I can also see the pod page sets that I've got access to, and Gateway. So all of those will be there. And if I had any pages that I wanted to share, that someone had shared with me, that would appear at the top here, and it'd say there's a page set that someone has shared with you. Do you want to accept that and download that? You'll notice with most of the pages, some of them I can't share, but there are ones further down. I've got a combo page set, towards the bottom here, and so I could share that with someone else if I wish to. And that's where I said it's important to know the email address of that person's MyDynavox account. That's all you need to know, and you can then share that with them. Okay, I'll cancel that. You can make copies of pages, etc. So that's page sets. If you had a page set that you had saved on another device and you wanted to upload it to MyDynavox in the cloud, the upload page set button is there. You can't do that with the iPad because it doesn't have a USB port, but it is possible to do that with your T10. You could save a page set on the T10 on a USB stick, and then you can actually upload it to your MyDynavox account on your computer. So there's a few different ways that you can do backups. Often people will just want to do that directly from the device. If you've got a good internet connection, then that's probably what you would do. Let's move along to downloads. This is where there are a few different extra goodies. So if you have used a previous device from DynaVox, such as the VMAX or a Maestro, then you can actually convert those pages to a Compass page set. And this is where you can download that converter for Series 5. Now, it does note there that not all functions from the Series 5 pages will exist in the Compass software. So some content might not be converted as expected, and you'll see some information about that. But the majority of the pages and the structure that you have there will be converted, and it can save you a lot of time in programming. So it's worth having a look at that if you are looking at converting over to Compass. Again, you've got the Compass editing software. Here you can access links to the Compass app. So the Compass app can be downloaded and put onto your iPad or your Windows tablet for a 30-day trial, a speaking version. And then if you want to continue using it at this stage, you need to purchase a subscription, and you do that through your MyDynavox account to continue using that software. There's also an on-screen keyboard app that you can use with the T10 device, and a few other downloads that are available relating to text messaging and so forth. Okay, so that's downloads. We're now looking at resources. As I said earlier on in the piece, there are a whole range of ideas for therapy and everyday use that you can go in and have a look at. Let's have a quick look. So if we scroll down, we've got some first steps for preschoolers and school-age children, and they've just looked at some of the different page sets and some lesson plans and things that you could work through, working on introducing core words into fun activities, additional core words. So I always like a free resource, and this is a great place to find some lesson plans and tools and ideas for using the Compass app. If we have a look at resources again, the other thing I've been looking at today are the videos. So if you're still not really sure about some of the page sets or you want some more information, here's a great spot. You can see all of the different page sets at the top, and then as you scroll down, because we're in getting started, if we have a look at, say, the Navbar, we scroll down, we've got an introductory video, and then there's a video about all the different levels, ability levels, and then some of the tools that you can use, as well as how to edit different things. So lots of videos, lots of visual supports for you if you're using that page set. And of course you can go into each of the page sets and see what videos are available there. There's also some information, just extra documentation, some good things to read through if you've got people that you're working with that aren't sold on the idea of using AAC and assisting individuals to have that opportunity to communicate. You can look at some of the myths and research around AAC. There's also some great evaluation tools and goal writing tools that not only relate to using, Compass and other DynaVox products, but just any situation where you're focusing on using AAC with an individual. So they can be used quite widely as some great tools for you. And the last tab is community and support. And so again, this requires a login, but this particular area is great for finding or answering questions about anything that you're having difficulty with. So I'm going to log into that. So now I've logged in. You can see that at the top left hand, there's a few areas you can access: Q&A, which is where we are now, discussion, groups, knowledge, and cases. So Q&A is probably one that I access a lot. You can see there's a question I asked about a year ago about switch interfaces that will work with the Compass app on the iPad. So there's some information there. There's also a little area there just above that says, what would you like to know? And so you can type a keyword or a question and see what questions come up that other people have asked that are along similar lines and what the answers might be. So if we wanted to say backup, let's just type in backup and search. You can see different questions that relate to that keyword that I've put in. So how long does it take to upload backup to the cloud, or questions on creating and editing pages. So Q&A is a great place to go if you're not sure about how to do something. Test the questions and answers that are already there, or you can actually lodge that question if there's not an answer there that you can find. There are some discussion groups that you can access also around different topics. So while we're just waiting for that to load, I've accessed some discussion groups that I've found really useful. There's ones that you can follow. You could create new groups. So that's always another option to have a look at as well. Groups. And then you've got a knowledge base, pretty similar to the Q&A, but these are ready-made question and answers that are all set up, articles that have been released. So they're all set up in a sort of nice format for you to work through if you've got the need to find out how to do something. So I also like the knowledge, and they're probably the two main areas I would direct people to, is the Q&A and the knowledge section. So if you can't get an answer from a person, then it's a great place to check there first until you send a question out to other people. Okay, we're getting close to wrapping up now. I just want to go through a few accessories that are available for the T10 device. So the T10, as I mentioned, is an Android tablet, and it has built-in speakers and has quite a large, loud volume. You can access that with a button at the top of the screen. What you can also add, and I mentioned this all the way through, is some key guards. So the first picture you can see is a key guard and key guard holder that you can attach to the front of the tablet. So there's a range of key guards for master pages, master page set, Word, Power, and the text-based page set. And then there are some available for Pod as well. There is a stand. You can see that in the next picture along. But if you put the handle on that comes with the T10, that also provides a little bit of elevation as well, not quite so much as the stand. So that's an option. There are also some mounting plates for DAISY and for Connect. So if you do need to mount it to a wheelchair or desktop stand, you could do that with those mounting kits. And there's also a user accessible case, which is pictured at the bottom there. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what are the differences between using a T10 device, or why would you necessarily have the Compass app on an iPad or Windows tablet? And so I've done a little bit of a comparison here. This is for within Australia. So some of these things might help in your decision-making process. One of the things is access methods. You have more available to you when you're using the T10 device. So I mentioned earlier that you can use mouse, head mouse, or plug in a mouse as access methods, whereas you're restricted with that with the iPad. Perhaps not the Windows tablet. I think you could also use mouse with that. In terms of backing up on the T10, if you've got it connected to your Wi-Fi, then you can back up to the cloud, and you can also back up to a USB if you're having difficulties with internet connections. So that's a good option for some people in some parts of Australia. Whereas with the iPad, you don't have a USB port. So if you need to back up, your only option is to back up to the cloud. So something to consider also. With the T10, you have the case and the speakers built in to the device. With the iPad, you would need to purchase additional case and speakers. The T10 is considered a dedicated device, and as such, you can purchase it as a dedicated option, which means it's just being used for communication and you don't go out into any of the Android home screen or settings. Whereas with the iPad, yes, there are some options that have been created, such as guided access, which means you can lock the app onto onto the screen so that the individual can't get out into any other apps. However, there is a bit of a precedence that lots of kids and even adults still see that iPad as entertainment or as a toy, and so often they know that it can be used for movies and other things and don't really see it as their communication option and just want to keep using it for some of those other fun things. So that hasn't really, when you've got the T10 there, it can be looked at purely as that communication option. It all really depends on how you introduce a device, I guess. So you can certainly see it that way for some individuals. For the T10, with the Compass, you can have the Compass app on the T10 itself, or comes with that, and that also means that you can use the free Compass companion app on another on an iPad or Windows tablet for free without using a subscription. So it means that it allows for you to model on more than one device. At this stage, you can, if you put Compass on your iPad, only have it on your iPad with that MyDynavox account. So you'd be a bit restricted in terms of modelling its use. In terms of funding, a lot of states within Australia will allow the T10. It comes in under that $7,000 limit, so it can be funded by some of the providers of funding. Whereas a lot of those funders don't fund the iPad. It's seen as a mainstream option. So it does differ state to state, but that is a distinction that we can make for some places. And then the other difference is your technical support. With purchasing a T10, you would have that under a warranty. You would have support through Spectronics and MyDynavox. Whereas with Compass on your iPad, strictly speaking, the support would just come through your MyDynavox account, and so you would need to use that Q&A and knowledge base to find out how to do things. Although I'm always very happy to answer questions or direct you to the right place to find out what to do. So just to mention a few resources that are available. Obviously, we've got this webinar that will be available for you to watch, and you can see an overview of the T10 and the Compass app. We've also got some equipment trials that will be available through us at Spectronics, so you can start to fill out an online application form for that, and trials will be available soon. There's also that support that I keep mentioning, but it's so true. I can't stress it enough that if you do need to find something out, go to MyDynavox.com and pop your questions in there. That's how I've been finding out things. And you may need to wait a day or two just with the difference between the US and Australia, but I've often found that a great way to get some answers on things that I'm wondering about. I'd like to thank you as one of the Spectronics consultancy team members for watching this webinar. You can access our consultancy services on site, or we could create some customized online content for you, or come out and do some hands-on training. So if you have any interest in accessing our consultancy services, you can contact us at consultants@spectronics.com.au, and there are a range of different ways that we could support learning within the classroom, or your learning of any of the assistive technology and AAC options that we would love to talk to you about. And don't forget, we had our Spectronics conference earlier in the year. So the 2014 conference, we did do a range of videos on some of the keynote speakers and other topics that were presented. And so you can grab a virtual registration and have access to over 40 hours worth of content on some great topics. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that. They're still available, and a fantastic resource to be able to share within your clinic or classroom, or with other friends and family. I hope that you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.